Messi and Ronaldo are the two greatest footballers who ever lived. And that might be exactly the problem. For nearly 2 decades, these two men were so impossibly good, so far beyond everyone else, that they changed the way an entire planet watches the sport. Not always for the better, because when two players become that dominant for that long, they do not just win trophies, they quietly rewire what fans expect, what we argue about, and even how we decide what greatness means. And a generation of football lovers is only now realizing what that did to them. But the real story is stranger than a rivalry. Think about how long this lasted. For roughly 15 years, one of these two won the sport's biggest individual award almost every single season, year after year, decade upon decade, the same two names. It had never happened before in the history of the game, and it may never happen again. Two outliers appearing at the exact same time, both chasing each other to heights no one had ever reached. It was breathtaking. It was also, in a strange way, a trap. Here is the first thing it did. It turned football, a flowing team sport of 11 against 11, into a story about two individuals. For a decade and a half, almost every match, every tournament, every headline was filtered through one question. What did Messi do? What did Ronaldo do? Entire teams of world-class players became supporting characters in a two-man drama. Fans stopped watching games and started watching individuals. The team, the thing football was always supposed to be about, slowly faded into the background. Then came the impossible standard. These two scored 50, 60 goals a season, again and again, for years on end. That is not normal. That is historically abnormal. But because they did it for so long, it started to feel normal. And so every young player who came after them was measured against numbers that only two humans in history had ever produced. Brilliant footballers began to look like disappointments, simply because they were not scoring at the rate of two once-in-a-century outliers. An entire generation of talent has been quietly judged a failure for the crime of being merely excellent. And then there was the argument, the endless, exhausting, planet-wide argument. Messi or Ronaldo? Better player, better numbers, better trophies. It consumed football culture. It turned a beautiful, artistic game into a spreadsheet, a contest of statistics to be hurled back and forth online. Fans split into tribes. Every goal became ammunition. Every award became a war. The joy of just watching football gave way to the need to prove that your guy was better than their guy. The debate became bigger than the sport, which leads to the strangest effect of all. A whole generation grew up unable to simply enjoy football. They learned to watch it the way you read a scoreboard, always ranking, always comparing, always asking whether this was the greatest ever, instead of just letting it be beautiful. Messi and Ronaldo were so extraordinary that they trained millions of people to experience the game through the narrow lens of individual greatness, rather than the messy, collective, unpredictable joy that made people fall in love with it in the first place. So did they really ruin football? Here's the honest answer. No, not really. Because in the same breath, they gave us the single greatest era the sport has ever seen. Two rivals pushing each other season after season to a level of excellence that will probably never be matched. We were lucky, astonishingly lucky, to watch it happen live. The problem is not that they were bad for football. The problem is that they were so unbelievably good that they spoiled us and left the game with a void that no single player can ever fill again. That is the real cost of watching perfection for 15 years. Everything after it feels smaller. The players who follow will be brilliant, and we will call them disappointing. The matches will be thrilling, and we will ask if they measure up. The two men who gave us the golden age of football also, without ever meaning to, made it almost impossible to be satisfied by anything that comes next. Messi and Ronaldo are the two greatest footballers who ever lived, and that more than any defeat or any scandal, might be the strangest problem the sport has ever had to face. Because the hardest thing in football is not losing. It is following greatness that perfect and learning somehow to love the game again on its own terms. If this made you think, subscribe and tell me below. Did they ruin football or just spoil us forever?